There are brand new trucks sitting on dealer lots right now that buyers keep walking past, and the reasons are not all the same. Electric experiments, gas and diesel trucks priced like luxury cars, or wrong engines. We are starting with Ford, Chevy, and GMC, three brands that built their names on real truck engines and are now watching their electric pickups rot in public. Before anyone gets it twisted, I grew up respecting these brands. Ford with the F-Series, Chevy and GMC with their V8s, their diesels, their work trucks that could take real abuse. But in 2026, the electric side is teaching them an expensive lesson. Selling instant torque in an ad is easy. Convincing a guy who tows, works, hauls tools, and does not want to calculate range every time he hits the highway is a completely different fight. So, number 12, Ford F-150 Lightning. I have seen F-150 owners forgive a lot of things. Bad fuel mileage, rough ride, ugly interiors, even expensive repairs if the truck still does truck work. What they do not forgive is a pickup that makes towing feel like a planning exercise. The Lightning has been sitting with an MDS as high as 250 days, and Q1 sales were down more than 70% year over year. The reason is sitting right in the use case. Empty, around town, this truck feels great. Hook a trailer to it and the whole story changes. Real-world towing range drops hard, especially at highway speed. Cold weather makes it worse. Charging with a trailer is awkward because most charging stations were designed for cars, not a truck with 20 feet of trailer behind it. Then you get into battery module fear. A gas F-150 with a fuel pump issue is a normal repair conversation. A Lightning with a high-voltage battery concern becomes dealer-only, warranty-heavy, and slow. That scares truck buyers. Ford also priced it like buyers were desperate for it. Around $67,000 average price for a truck that many owners still cannot use like a normal F-150. That is why they are sitting. The Lightning is quick, it is clever, but for a real truck customer, it solves one problem and creates three others. Number 11. Chevrolet Silverado EV. The Silverado EV has a problem I hear instantly when I talk to working buyers. Nobody asked Chevy to make the Silverado more complicated. They wanted a truck that could tow, haul, refuel fast, and stay productive. The EV version walks in with a near 199-day MDS because it keeps forcing practical buyers into impractical questions. The Ultium battery system is the center of the truck, and that alone changes ownership. If a traditional Silverado has a bad alternator, starter, fuel pump, or transmission issue, I know the repair path. So does every decent shop. With the Silverado EV, now you are dealing with high-voltage diagnostics, battery module availability, dealer scheduling, software behavior, and parts that the normal independent shop is not touching. Price is another problem. The buyer who uses a truck for work does not want an expensive electric science project parked on a job site. He wants uptime. He wants predictable range. He wants to know what the truck does loaded, not what it does in a perfect showroom demo. And weight matters. Big battery trucks are heavy, heavy eats tires, stresses suspension, changes braking behavior, and makes towing efficiency worse. That is not internet theory. That is mechanical reality. The Silverado badge is strong, but the EV version asks too much trust too early. That is why inventory is sitting instead of moving like a normal Chevy pickup. Number 10. GMC Sierra EV Denali. The Sierra EV Denali is the most obvious mismatch in this group. A Denali buyer usually wants expensive, yes, but familiar expensive. A 6.2 V8, a Duramax, leather chrome towing confidence, a truck that feels rich without making ownership feel experimental. GMC took that buyer and offered him an electric pickup above $80,000 with about 225 days of MDS. I do not need a focus group to see the problem. At that price, the customer has too many safer choices. A loaded gas Sierra, a Sierra HD Duramax, a premium SUV, even a used luxury truck with a known drivetrain. The Sierra EV Denali has power and tech, but power is not the missing ingredient. Trust is. From a repair standpoint, this thing is not simple. High voltage pack, cooling loops, electronic modules, specialized calibration, body and battery protection systems, limited independent repair access. If it gets hit, repaired, or starts throwing battery-related faults, the owner is not taking it to a normal truck shop and getting it back tomorrow. Depreciation is the other killer. Expensive EV trucks are getting punished because nobody knows what the battery, software, and resale story looks like 5 years from now. A Denali buyer does not want to feel like he is beta testing the future with his own money. Number 9. Jeep Gladiator. The Gladiator is sitting because Jeep priced a compromise like a premium pickup. An MDS around 233 days and more than 21,000 units sitting nationwide tells me buyers have stopped falling for the costume. I know exactly what this truck is. It is a Wrangler with a bed, and that sounds cool until somebody has to live with it Monday through Friday. Highway noise, vague steering, stiff ride, awkward rear seat comfort, limited towing compared with real trucks, and a bed that does not make it a serious work pickup. That is the problem. It looks like adventure. It drives like compromise. The discounts prove dealers know it. When you start seeing up to $10,000 cash back to move a truck, the market has already spoken. Jeep tried to sell the Gladiator close to full-size truck money, and buyers started comparing it with actual full-size trucks. That comparison hurts. From a mechanic's side, I also hate how many owners normalize Jeep problems as character. Water leaks are not character. Steering shake is not character. Front-end wobble, seal issues, wind noise, and suspension complaints are not personality. They are things people get tired of once the monthly payment still looks like a luxury truck payment. The Gladiator is not sitting because nobody likes Jeeps. It is sitting because a lot of buyers finally realize liking the idea is easier than owning the truck. Number 8. Ram 3500 Heavy Duty. The Ram 3500 has the kind of capability that should move inventory. But capability does not matter if the buyer cannot make the numbers work. An MDS around 200 days on a heavy-duty truck tells me Ram overshot the market. The Cummins diesel still has name value. Nobody with shop experience is pretending otherwise. Torque, towing, long-haul reputation, that badge still means something. But in 2026, a well-equipped Ram 3500 can sit around $77,000 or higher before the buyer even starts talking tax, interest, insurance, diesel maintenance, tires, and DEF. For a small business, rancher, or contractor, that is not just a truck. That is a serious financial decision. I have worked with owners who used to buy heavy-duty diesels because they were tools. Now, some of these trucks are priced like rolling executive offices. The problem is that the job did not suddenly pay twice as much. Towing equipment, hauling materials, pulling trailers, that work still has a budget. Fleet buyers are cautious too. They are not buying luxury trims for fun when rates are high and operating costs are ugly. A truck can be strong and still sit if the buyer cannot justify the payment. The Ram 3500 is not rotting because it lacks muscle. It is rotting because Stellantis priced a work machine into a market where too many working buyers are backing away. Number 7. Ram 2500 Heavy Duty. The Ram 2500 has a different issue from the 3500. Price hurts it? Yes. But the bigger problem is fear. Heavy-duty buyers talk. They know what repairs cost. They know modern diesel systems can turn one failure into a 5-figure problem. This truck is sitting around 192 days of MDS, and I do not think that is random. The Cummins name still pulls buyers in. But once they start talking about high-pressure fuel systems, emissions hardware, DEF problems, DPF service, sensors, regeneration issues, and repair bills, the room gets quieter. The fuel pump fear is real. When a high-pressure pump fails and sends metal through the fuel system, that is not a small repair. You are talking injectors, rails, lines, tank cleaning, filters, labor, diagnostics, and a bill that can go past $10,000 fast. I have seen diesel owners go from proud to sick when they realize the truck still runs in theory, but the repair estimate makes no sense. Then compare that with gas Super Duty options. A buyer who does not tow max weight every day may look at a Ford Gas Heavy Duty and decide he would rather give up some diesel torque than gamble on emissions and fuel system costs. The Ram 2500 is still a serious truck, but serious trucks are bought by people who calculate downtime. And right now, too many buyers see diesel complexity, high maintenance costs, and expensive failure points before they see the Cummins badge. Number 6. Ford F250 Super Duty King Ranch / Platinum. The F250 itself is not the problem. The luxury trims are. The work versions, XL, XLT, the trucks bought by fleets and contractors, still make sense because they are bought for a job. The problem is the King Ranch and Platinum inventory sitting around with an MDS near 158 days, because dealers loaded lots with trucks that can push $80,000 to $90,000 before the buyer even starts talking interest. I have worked on enough Super Duty trucks to know the difference between a tool and a trophy. A basic F250 with the right engine can earn its keep. A Platinum sitting on 20-inch wheels with leather everywhere and a payment that looks like a mortgage has to convince a very different buyer. That buyer is tightening up. High-income truck buyers are not blind. Insurance is up, rates are up, diesel maintenance is not cheap, and nobody wants to bury $90,000 into a truck unless it feels absolutely necessary. Mechanically, these trucks are capable. That is not the issue. The issue is frozen premium inventory. Dealers have millions tied up in trucks that are too expensive for work buyers and too excessive for luxury buyers who can just buy an SUV. The F250 still sells. The overpriced luxury versions are the ones sitting there aging under dealer lights. Number 5. Ram 1500 Hurricane Y6. The Ram 1500 Hurricane is sitting because Ram touched the one thing its buyer emotionally cared about: the Hemi. I do not care how many horsepower charts they print. Ram killed the V8 sound, the familiar V8 feel, and the engine identity a lot of buyers associated with the brand. Now they are asking those same buyers to trust a 3.0-liter twin-turbo inline-six in a full-size pickup. On paper, the Hurricane makes strong power. The problem is that truck buyers do not buy paper. They buy what they believe will still be alive after heat, towing, cheap fuel, bad oil habits, and 130,000 miles of abuse. That is why an MDS around 162 days and more than 70,000 units sitting nationwide does not surprise me. I have heard this conversation in real life. The customer looks under the hood, sees turbos, charged pipes, sensors, tight packaging, and asks the same thing every old school buyer asks. What is this going to cost me when warranty is gone? The Hemi had problems. Lifters, manifolds, fuel economy, I know all of it, but it was familiar. The Hurricane is powerful, but it is new, boosted, hot, and still earning its reputation. Ram misjudged the emotional side of full-size truck buying. The buyer did not just want numbers, he wanted a V8. Number 4. Hyundai Santa Cruz. The Santa Cruz is what happens when a vehicle has no natural buyer. Hyundai gave it a bed, styled it like a lifestyle truck, priced it like something special, and then the American pickup market barely looked up. An MDS around 229 days says the experiment is cold. The problem is not hard to diagnose. It is not enough truck for truck people and not enough SUV for SUV people. If a customer wants to haul, tow, load equipment, or feel like he bought a real pickup, the Santa Cruz feels soft. If he wants a practical crossover, a Tucson makes more sense inside, rides like the vehicle Hyundai actually meant to build, and does not force him to explain the little bed. I have seen these on lots, and they always give me the same reaction. Clever, but confused. The bed is useful for dirty gear, bikes, bags of mulch, small weekend stuff. Fine. But America does not usually buy pickups because they need a clever compromise. They buy pickups because they want capability, image, and confidence. Hyundai practically lost patience with it because the market never gave it a real lane. It is not a bad machine for the right person. The issue is that the right person is too rare. That is why the Santa Cruz is sitting. It tried to split the difference between SUV and pickup, and buyers decided they would rather have one or the other. Number 3. Ford Maverick EcoBoost Turbo. The Maverick is not dead. The inventory problem is mostly with the wrong Maverick. The hybrid is the one people chase because that is the truck that made the name explode. Cheap, efficient, useful, and different. The EcoBoost Turbo version does not have the same magic. That is why the Maverick's MDS has climbed around 162 days in some inventory data. Ford built too much of the conventional turbo version while the hybrid stayed the one buyers actually wanted. I have seen this mistake before. Automakers see demand for a model, overbuild the profitable trim, and then act surprised when shoppers refuse to treat every version the same. The EcoBoost is quicker, fine. It can make more sense for AWD buyers. But the Maverick's whole identity was never speed. It was value and efficiency. Once you take away the hybrid angle, now the buyer starts comparing it to used Rangers, compact SUVs, cheaper crossovers, or even waiting for the hybrid allocation. Then you add owner complaints about cabin noise, early turbo worries, and the basic fear of a small boosted engine aging badly under cheap ownership. A little turbo motor needs clean oil, heat management, and disciplined maintenance. Maverick buyers chasing a cheap truck are not always thinking that way. The EcoBoost Maverick sits because it is not the version that made people fall in love with the truck. Ford built too many of the less desirable one. Number 2. Nissan Frontier Pro 4X/upper trim. The Frontier-based truck still makes sense. I will say that clearly. A simple Nissan midsize with a V6, normal controls, and a lower price can still be a smart buy. The problem starts when Nissan asks over $43,000 for upper trims like the Pro 4X, because then the Frontier stops looking like a value play and starts fighting trucks with more attention behind them. The new Toyota Tacoma heard it immediately. Truck buyers who are already spending serious money want the newer cabin, stronger resale story, more modern safety tech, and the feeling that they bought the current benchmark. The Frontier has a good 3.8-liter V6. But the rest of the truck still feels older than the price suggests. I have sat in enough of these to understand the hesitation. The Frontier is honest, but the screen, driver assistance tech, interior feel, and overall polish do not hit the same way when the sticker is deep into the 40s. At $30,000 something, I can defend it. At Pro 4X money, the buyer starts asking why he is not sitting in a Tacoma, Colorado, or even stretching into a discounted full size. That is the issue on the lot. Nissan is not losing because the Frontier cannot work. It is losing because the expensive trims are trying to fight above their weight. A cheap Frontier is a good truck. A pricey Frontier needs to be special. The Pro 4X does not feel special enough to move fast in 2026. Number 1. Sierra 1500 TurboMax 4-cylinder. The Sierra TurboMax is a perfect example of a technically capable engine that the buyer simply does not want in that badge. On paper, the 2.7-liter TurboMax 4-cylinder is not weak. It makes serious torque, it pulls better than old V6 truck engines, and mechanically, I understand what GM was trying to do. The problem is the customer. A GMC Sierra buyer is not walking in dreaming about a 4-cylinder. He wants the 5.3 V8, the 6.2 V8, or the Duramax. He wants status, sound, towing confidence, and the feeling that he bought a premium GM truck. The TurboMax may be strong on paper, but truck buyers do not always buy paper, especially not in Texas, the Midwest, or work truck country. Sierra inventory overall has been sitting around 117 days of MDS, but the 4-cylinder trucks are the ones that drag. I am not surprised. You put a premium price on the window, a GMC badge on the grille, and then ask the buyer to accept a 4-cylinder under the hood. That is a hard sell even if the numbers are good. I have seen buyers react to these engines in person. They hear Turbo 4 and immediately start thinking small, stressed, hot, and expensive later. Maybe that is not always fair, but it is real. Perception moves trucks. The TurboMax Sierra sits because GM built a truck that makes engineering sense, then forgot the buyer wanted emotional confidence too. A premium truck with a 4-cylinder has to fight the customer before it even leaves the lot.